times is the commercial vehicles have had to cut off the funeral processions, which is illegal, by the way. But they need to do that to get over as quickly as they can to make that right-hand turn. And it's caused a serious safety concern. The same thing is happening with the vehicles that are egressing out of the industrial park. We've had situations where the traffic has backed up. In fact, the incident that Nick is referring to was actually the Deer Run rail crossing gates were down. And those crossing gates were down, which caused a backup of vehicles ingressing or going westbound on Walter Strong. They then backed up all the way into that turning lane from southbound 53 into Walter Strong. And then the Amtrak train was actually northbound coming into this area, and by sight, the engineer of the train was able to stop the train before a collision with the commercial vehicle that was actually on the rail crossing. This happened while police officers were right in the intersection. They actually observed this occur. So a very dangerous situation, very complex situation. What we've tried to do in looking at the egress portion, where vehicles are leaving the park and coming through the intersection, and attempt to stop them from getting hung up on the rail crossing there, we've prohibited right turn on red now. So working with Max Boso and the Public Works Department, we had no right turn on red signs established there, so that we don't have these commercial vehicles, creep up to the crossing to try to get into that little queue before the light turns. We're requiring them to stop well before the crossing itself. We've actually wrote over 60 citations for a violation, so even though the signs are up, and as Nick mentioned, it's had some effect because we've had less crossing gates broken, but we still continue to see violations there. So this is a work in progress, this intersection. I don't see it just strictly as an enforcement issue. We can have officers out there 24/7, they may have some kind of impact, but even when the officers are out there, they're still writing the violations. It's still occurring, and eventually, a ticket's not going to stop a crash. We're going to have a collision in this intersection, and it could be catastrophic if we're involving a passenger freight train. We're also exploring and working with the ICC. Another enforcement technique would be photo enforcement for that intersection. So we're working and looking with some vendors to see if we have the option of installing red light photo enforcement for the rail gates, the crossing gates. The intersection is very complex because, as Max could probably explain a lot better than me, as an engineer, it's tied into the signal crossing at 53 and Walter Strong, along with the rail gates for the passenger trains and freight trains.
Max, you want to add anything?
The only thing I wanted to bring back that just the traffic and the amount of truck traffic that is going through that rail crossing on Walter Strong. This is the original application for that crossing back in 2002 from Trans Systems, and I'll rotate it. Here we go. This is the counts. There's 7,000 total counts in 2023. This is what was submitted to the ICC back in 2002. The expected truck traffic was 26% of 7,000. 7,000 was the total number of traffic out there. And they expected, obviously, 26% trucks, which means 74% was vehicular traffic, right, which is completely the opposite right now, if not more truck traffic than vehicular. And this is in 2023. Now we're only halfway there, and we're already exceeding this number, so who knows what's going to be in 2023. It's going to be probably double what's there now. That's the only thing I wanted to add. This is the actual document that's submitted to the ICC back in 2002.
And the other thing we wanted to point out is when this property was first purchased from the federal government, when Congressman Sangmeister brought this idea forward, his main purpose was to bring in the cemetery, the Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery. It's well documented. Secondly, he wanted the day one, and when he brought it forward, a couple of the cities says, well, why don't we do an industrial park? And then he kind of acquiesced to that. But what was in the original legislation was an industrial park, not a full-scale intermodal facility like we have right now, or there would have been a lot of discussion about it previously. And also, I don't know if all of you know, but right now we have between 25 and 35 funerals a day. And those are all kind of condensed between about 10 in the morning and 2:30 in the afternoon. And I don't know if there's anything from a logistics standpoint that we could, or that we could look at, but that's when the main source of the problem is. So what some of the things that, now we talked about this, we had a meeting with the ICC, with the Union Pacific Railroad, with high-speed rail. That's the other thing that's adding into this, is the ICC recommended that traffic go, the speed of the trains go from 79 miles an hour down to 40. Now, that's what we figured out. Well, high-speed rail's coming through, and they're going to be, how fast?
No, it's like 80-something less.
Okay, so it's going to be, they actually did the improvements out there already to accommodate high-speed rail. So we kind of thought this through, and what we would like to do is for you to consider, you know, we want to know how this affects you from a management standpoint, the logistics parts that you run. Our biggest problem in the village, I think, and I could be wrong, Mayor, and if you trustees, you know more, all we hear about is truck traffic around 53. We've had some serious problems. We had 3 people killed from off-road to Laraway over an 18-month period in North Tacoma. A lot of it was their fault. You know, there's no question about it. It wasn't the trucker's fault, but that's what we hear. And we constantly hear about the fact that, you know, they never bargained for the traffic on 53. Always knew there would be traffic on Arsenal Road in the industrial park, Route 55. This isn't what they bargained for. So we've talked with about a number of things, and I know a number of ideas were thought out, and that we had about a 3-hour meeting with these guys, and you know, police escorts and having traffic cops out there. Difficult thing to do. The big problem we have here is that we get all those funerals between that time period, the traffic is 55 miles an hour. It's hard to keep a parade together, you know, if you're walking people, let alone a funeral procession of 50 cars from Route 80 to here. And then, you know, there's always truck traffic in between those, so they're always buying, you know, around for that. So we need some ideas there. One of the things we thought from a village perspective that would help us out a lot, and I don't know how it affects you guys, we want to know that, is we would like the speed limit reduced from Mississippi to off-road to 35 miles an hour. Right now it's 55. And Pat could recall this, but, you know, those trucks are screaming by here, and we had one of the semis pop a wheel off, and it landed right next to where you're sitting there. It just shot over you. We would like to see if we could reduce that. We would like it 45 from Mississippi to Teal, not the whole road, but just to slow down when you get here. We think that would help us a bit. And then from maybe off-road to the Iron Bridge, if that could be 45. So you could go from 55 down to 45 to Teal, and then Mississippi to off is probably, what, a half-mile stretch, maybe? It's not that much, you know, and it would really help the safety out here. The other thing we've been trying to do is to get a traffic signal on Mississippi, and there's one always at 53, and there's one already approved for off-road. That would help the traffic at least coming out of the cemetery, which is another problem. People coming up trying to make a left turn have to deal with a lot of semi-traffic going 60 miles an hour, and it's getting more dangerous there. So they approved it as part of the high-speed rail. It's just that it's not coming soon enough for us. You know, it's like a year and a half away. But we don't have approval yet in Mississippi. We think that would certainly help. And we also talked about doing some changes in the industrial park. For those of you who attend the meetings, you know what those are. But we talked about actually putting traffic signals on Mississippi and Strawn, traffic signals on Mississippi, Mississippi and Baseline, and traffic signals on Strawn and Baseline. And then having kind of adjusting those to accommodate the traffic flow of the trucks, and making it easier for all of you to use the new interchange. And that's what we're kind of hoping for. And as we said, our goal is that you can come off the interchange and come into the BNSA yard without stopping.
Yeah, sure.
Paul, you got a seat up here, okay? And so that's one of the things we'd like to do. We'd like to look at adding an additional lane, and I think we had talked about that a while ago. Right now, traffic backs up from the BNSF exit to Straw Road. And what we talked about is putting another lane there, and that would help NFI. NFI is a serious problem with trucks trying to get in, making left turns in and turns out of there. And that would certainly help that issue there. But the other thing we talked about is signs, and Max is going to cover them a little bit later on. But those are the things that we had talked about originally, and that would help us. And I don't know what an impact those would have, but you've heard from us, and I guess we'd like to hear from all of you as to how this issue affects all of you, and we want to introduce Paul.
I'll start.
Obviously, got to anticipate that it takes longer to get here from downtown Chicago.
While you're eating bread, I'll start. From our perspective, all those sound better than closing Walter Strong to trucks. Because we got 8,000 containers going across Route 53, over our facility on the east side of it. So if you close that, that will more than triple the cost of getting those containers from either ramp back to our place. So
You have how many containers?
about 8,000 a year.
How many is that like in a business day?
That's 16,000 trips, one this way, one that way. Pardon?
How many in one day would you do?
It depends. Probably, it could be as high as 60 and as low as 5. Just depends on how the trains come in.
Big deal. But any of those things.
But I'm a small user. Walmart has far more than that. They just don't go across 53.
What about after don't you guys get grain and bring it back to?
We don't. Now, Bob could speak to that because you use some grain, don't you?
No, we
You don't?
don't follow things, at least not much.
Yeah, it's not steady enough for us, so that we don't permit our trucks to do it because we can't do enough to make it worth our while.
So do all your trucks go up and down Strong, or do they go down 53?
Much up and down Strong. Now, we do give empties to Prairie Creek down 53, but just empties. We don't haul any grain back.
And then would they come back this way? Or
Yeah, eventually all of them will come back.
Or with the truck that drops off the empty? Would they keep going down River Road, or would they come back into the park?
No, they would come back up 53 to our place, get it empty, and go back to the ramp to get a bob a full load.
In fact, a number of them would come through the park to go to the UP ramp, because you can't make a left turn to the UP ramp up the way.
Oh, so they would pick up grain at Prairie Creek, come down Strong, then down Baseline to get to the UP. Okay.
Where the UP's constructed, you can only get in, coming off and go to a right turn. You can't do a right turn out of the ramp. You can only do a left turn.
So Elwood is bearing part of the traffic for that.
I see.
That's because of the restrictions over there.
Do you know how many that is during a regular grain day?
No, but the Joliet police has found out because they're camped over there right now, writing tickets for all the truck drivers who are doing U-turns over there.
I see. Okay.
That's one of the things we see is a number of the trucks coming through and using the streets of Elwood really are passing through and they're not corporate residents of this area.
Now, does that affect you guys? Having all those trucks there that just pass through?
It certainly adds to the congestion.
Yeah, it's probably unknown at this point, at least recently, what 55, with the bridge being closed on one side, what effect that's had on recently, because that's a big effect.
Since that's been open, is it, well, it would still be a problem for Joliet, with Joliet traffic going in there. That's it.
There seems to be more going back to 55 now.
It does seem less.
Construction's
I don't have any
been done
number,
for a
but
couple
it does seem like traffic's lighting up some.
Now, does grain come from Prairie Creek out to your place? Okay.
I
A lot
presume
of
it does.
Yes.
Okay, and that they just make the rounds there, where they would come from Prairie Creek, they pick up a load, drop it at the BNSF, when I go back to Prairie Creek.
Yeah, the way the grain works is the grain company has to get bookings with the steamship lines for containers. And which steamship line uses which ramp, that's where it's gonna go.
We're learning a lot, as we say. Well, we all introduced ourselves, so you have to introduce yourself now.
Okay, well, again, I apologize for being late. What I'll do is, at future meetings, I'll just work here at our office in the afternoon, so I'm sure. But I'm Paul Woody, I'm the government affairs guy for UNICEF Elwood, based in downtown Chicago. And just to comment on that, Union Pacific is absolutely apoplectic about the prospects of the crossing being closed. I mean, they are absolutely dependent on it. So,
Who is it?
Union Pacific,
Their grain is dependent on.
their whole operation is dependent on keeping that crossing open, so they do not want it closed.
So how does that affect the insect?
Well, it affects us as well. The amount of trucks going from our facility go through. Some others in this room might know more than me, but it's probably of equal importance to BNSF and the city.
And would any of these things we mentioned affect you guys? Like lowering the speed limit, traffic signals, that kind of stuff?
They sound like good ideas. I don't see how they would hurt us. Whatever is necessary to to maximize safety and the fluidity of traffic flow. Priority being that it stays open.
I don't think any of those suggestions would hurt anybody, except dumb truck drivers, and you can't cure dumb, you know, not to be rude, but they just do dumb things sometimes.
No, I think the speed limit seems, dropping the speed limit seems like a reasonable solution. It would give someone trying to enter onto 53 a little more time. And a lot of times, a little bit more time on some of the speed to make a decision, can I go or not go? So I mean, that feels like it would add to safety for everybody. The amount of time that you're adding to a trip is negligible.
Well, how about-
the distance is not that big.
How about if the rail crossing was closed, how would that affect partners' awareness?
Well, basically, if you look at the two major arterials, you've got Interstate 80 and 55. And look at the geography of where you go from here. If you're going the direction that 80 would take you, it makes sense to go 53, because it would be lesser miles. So if you're heading east, you're going to Indiana, Ohio, taking the road over there, material part of our roads go there, and other people's as well. The natural thing is to go down 53 a day. If you're going into the city, 55 is a more natural flow to save the miles, because it's pretty efficient to go at an angle to save that extra.
I know we were talking to Mike one time when we had lunch, and I think you guys had a warehouse in, was it Bolingbrook or Wilmington? And if you took 55, it was more in distance, but you saved 20 minutes.
Faster.
Yeah, it was much faster. Is it faster to get on to 55 and go east or to go to 53?
Well, 53 is much closer.
It's closer, but how about faster, right?
Well, it depends where you're going.
That's,
let's say you're going to the same place, you're really looking at the time difference to go to the 55 interchange, and it is a little faster to go 55 and take that in, depending on the congestion. On the really congestion time, it's probably a little faster, a little bit more miles to go the square route. So that it takes longer to get onto 55, particularly the extra couple miles of the ramp to leave it. But
Do you think it'd be fair to say with the way the new ramp's working over on 55, I think if you're going up 53, if you're going west on 80, it would be faster to go 55.
Right.
If you're going east on 80, it'd be faster to go up 53. It's kind of a split point.
Well, what a certain time we get